I realized the whole town was lying to me when I dug up a human tooth in my backyard, and every single neighbor I showed it to already knew exactly whose it was. I was on my knees in the dirt behind the old house, hands shaking, phone buzzing in my pocket with missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize, and all I could think was that whatever I'd uncovered wasn't supposed to see daylight ever again. But I need to rewind, because it didn't start with a tooth, or the way people suddenly stopped making eye contact with me, or the sound of a truck idling outside my place every night around 2 a.m. It started with me trying to escape my life and landing in a town that looked too perfect to be real. I moved to Ashford Creek in late October, the kind of fall where the leaves burn red and gold, and the air smells like wet wood and cold mornings. I'd found the house online, cheap in a way that felt like a typo, a 2-story place with a wraparound porch and big old windows that caught the sunset just right. The listing said estate sale and motivated sellers, and I didn't ask many questions because I was tired and broke and needed somewhere quiet to land. Ashford Creek was one of those towns you only find by accident. One main road, a diner that closed at 8, a historical society building with a flag out front, and families whose last names were on everything. Street signs, park plaques, scholarship boards at the high school. Everyone smiled, waved, asked where I was from, told me how happy they were to have new blood around. It felt rehearsed, but friendly enough that I ignored the weirdness. The house belonged to a woman named Eleanor Pike. That name came up a lot, usually followed by a pause. People would say it softly, like you might wake someone up if you said it too loud. The realtor told me she'd passed peacefully in her sleep at 92. No children, no close relatives, just one of the town's pillars. When I asked what that meant, the realtor smiled and said she was always watching out for Ashford Creek. That line stuck with me. Always watching. The first few weeks were quiet. Too quiet. No sirens, no distant highway noise, no dogs barking at night. Just wind through the trees and the occasional church bell on Sundays. I slept better than I had in years. Then I started noticing little things that didn't add up, like how people never talked about the past past a certain point. You could ask about last year's Harvest Festival or the new playground, but anything older than maybe 25 years turned vague. Before my time, that was a different era, probably not worth digging into. Dig was a word that made some of them visibly tense, which I thought was odd for a town built on farmland. The house itself had its quirks. Floorboards that creaked in patterns, a basement door that stuck no matter how much WD-40 I used, and a back section of the yard where the grass refused to grow. It wasn't dead, just thin, pale, like it didn't want to be there. I joked about it at first, blamed bad soil. Then I found the newspaper clipping. I was unpacking boxes I'd shoved into the hall closet, looking for winter coats, when I noticed a loose panel at the back. Behind it was a yellowed envelope with my address written in neat, old-fashioned handwriting. Inside was a folded page from the Ashford Creek Gazette, dated June 14, 1953. The headline was small, almost apologetic, "Local boy missing after summer fair." The article talked about a 12-year-old named Thomas Reed who vanished after volunteering at the town fair. Witnesses said they had seen him near the old oak grove behind the Pike property. A search was conducted, no trace found, case closed after 6 months. What chilled me wasn't the article itself, it was the handwritten note in the margin, written in the same careful script as the envelope. Equals, he saw too much. I laughed it off at first. Old people wrote weird stuff. Maybe Eleanor Pike was senile. Maybe it was a coincidence. Still, I took the clipping to the Historical Society, figuring they'd want it. The woman at the front desk, silver hair pulled tight, glasses on a chain, looked at the paper and went very still. She didn't ask where I got it. She didn't ask why I had it. She just slid it back across the counter and said, "Some things are better left where they are." That night, someone knocked on my door just after midnight. I didn't answer. I watched through the pier hole as 3 silhouettes stood on my porch, unmoving, no talking, no shifting their weight, just waiting. After a full minute, they turned and walked away in perfect sync. From then on, the town changed toward me. Smiles got thinner. Conversations ended when I walked into a room. At the diner, my coffee would arrive cold. Someone left a note under my windshield wiper that just said, "Stop digging." That's when I decided to dig. I started with public records, property maps, old zoning documents, anything that mentioned the Pike House or the Oak Grove behind it. I found references to community gatherings held there every decade or so, always closed events, always sponsored by the same handful of families. No photos, no descriptions. The Oak Grove was still there, twisted old trees clustered together like they were huddling. The ground beneath them was uneven, sunken in places. I brought a shovel one afternoon, telling myself I was just going to check the soil. The first thing I hit was fabric, then bone. I don't know how long I sat there staring at it, the dirt-stained sleeve of what looked like a child's shirt, the small curve of an arm. I didn't call the police. I don't know why. Maybe some instinct kicked in, the same one that told me I was already being watched. I covered it back up and went straight to my nearest neighbor, Harold, whose family had been in Ashford Creek since the beginning. I showed him the tooth I'd pocketed without thinking. He looked at it, sighed, and said, "I was wondering when you'd find that." That's when the calls started. People showing up at my house uninvited, not threatening me outright, just explaining, telling me about the pact. Back in the early 1900s, Ashford Creek was nothing. Poor soil, bad luck, kids disappearing into the woods, crops failing. Then something happened in the Oak Grove, something the town elders never wrote down. Whatever it was, it demanded a witness, someone innocent, someone who could see and remember. Every generation, when things started going wrong again, the town chose another witness, a child. They weren't killed right away. They were shown everything, the rituals, the thing in the grove, the truth beneath the town. Then they were buried, and the land flourished again. Eleanor Pike was the last caretaker, the watcher. She made sure no one talked, no one remembered too clearly. And before she died, she hid the evidence where she knew someone like me would find it. Around this point, if you're listening to this and thinking, there's no way I'd stay, no way I'd keep poking at it, I get that. I thought the same thing. But imagine realizing that everyone around you is complicit in child murder, and that the ground under your feet is soaked in it, and that running away doesn't change the fact that it's real. I tried to leave. My car wouldn't start, the bus line had been temporarily suspended, my phone lost service whenever I drove past the town limits. The final piece clicked when I found Eleanor Pike's journal in the basement wall. She'd written about the witnesses, about how they didn't scream once they understood, about how the town needed someone to remember, even if it meant destroying them. And at the very end, one last line. If you are reading this, it's your turn now. The town needs a new watcher. That night, they came for me. I won't describe everything that happened in the grove. Some things don't translate into words. I will say this. I saw what they wanted me to see. I saw how deep the lie went, how far back, how the prettiest houses were built on bones. They didn't bury me. That's the twist. They needed me alive. They needed someone who knew and stayed silent, someone to watch. So I'm still here, living in Eleanor Pike's house, going to the diner, smiling back. The grass in my yard is growing again, thick and green. And I'm telling you this because I don't know how much longer I can keep the secret by myself. If you've got a theory, if you think you know what I should do, drop it in the comments. Like the video if this story got under your skin, share it if you think someone needs to hear it, and subscribe for more Shadow Case Files. Just, if you ever pass through a town like mine and they tell you everything's perfect, don't believe them.